Hello everyone, welcome to Horizon 2022. Today we are going to show how easily we can access data in Planning Analytics Workspace. I'm happy to introduce Monica Thomas to drive the show. She is a QPwise consultant. I request you to post your queries in chat section and I will get it answered from presenter at the end of the presentation. Over to you, Monica Thomas.
Thank you, Kalai. Hi, my name is Monica Thomas. I am coming to you from India. Today, I'm going to talk about how you can make your analysis easier with PAW. I welcome you all to the session. To begin with, what is the importance of doing analysis with PAW? From my customer experience of working in planning analytics, Workspace has been cherry on top for doing data analysis with TM1. It has enhanced overall planning analytics experience for technical as well as business users. And this particular interface has enabled wide user community with ease of usage of analyzing the underlying TM1 data. I want to take this opportunity to show the wonderful experience Planning Analytics Workspace provides, especially for those who are yet to experience its functionality. This may be repetitive for some, but I hope you may be able to take some new information from this session. So let's dive right into what the agenda for today is. So I will be discussing three topics: synchronization and how we can use that in analysis for different cube views, the MDX powered dashboards, and module deployment. So let's get right into the session. All right. So first is synchronization and analysis. So PAW allows you to synchronize your widgets to a selector or a set of selectors, and they will impact all the widgets that are there in your page, which have been chosen to be synchronized along with those dimensions. So basically, this approach allows you to create powerful dashboards with live data that can be changed via a very small single selector. So as you can see on screen, what I have are two cubes. One is a plan cube and a reporting cube. And this both are synchronized in their rows with the accounts. So I can just select any subset, let's say this, and both of them will change accordingly. And similarly, I have synchronized for time, that is in columns, and both of them will change. So how this is helpful is you can just with a click see and analyze, okay, this data is not matching or this data is going good. So reconciliation is working very well. Another great point about synchronization is we can not only synchronize this one particular sheet or tab, but we can synchronize this whole book. So we have this business unit over here, the selector, and I am selecting, let's say, Germany. So you can see on the overview that all of my cube views have been changed to Germany. And this, I have, this book is synchronized with the business unit. So all the selectors in the book will be changed to Germany. You can see all the charts also changing to Germany. Another great feature about synchronization is that we can extend it not only to cube viewer, but also to processes. For example, I have a process that loads the data from the plan cube to the reporting cube. And here I have synchronized the business unit. So all I need to do is go to the properties and select the dimension which I want the synchronization to work with and just synchronize it. So whatever selection you're doing over here, let's say I'm taking UK, your process will also automatically get synchronized with the selector. So that's the beauty of synchronization. Now let's go to the dashboard. So I have synchronized this book with charts as well as the cube viewers. So this cube view as well as this chart is synchronized according to the department that I'm selecting. So let's say I have direct sales I need to see, and I can see the values changing accordingly, charts, everything changing according to my selector. And we can easily use this for further analysis. So that was synchronization and analysis. And it's a great feature whenever there's a issue that is happening, or a business user wants to see the data reconciliation between two cubes, we can just directly create a book, have a pre-created book there, and then just directly always go to that book and it will be saved and you can just have a look at it. So it's as simple as that. Next, let's go on to the MDX powered dashboard. Um, okay, so MDX, as you may know, TM1 leverages the standard MDX language, and it adds onto it its own capabilities. So MDX gives power to keep objects up to date, and you may be well aware of how we can create dynamic subsets in dimensions so that it automatically gets updated. So similarly, in Power, one of the features that I could experience is we can do a built-in MDX built report where we can just modify the MDX for a view here and then just click on OK. So what will happen is this view will be driven by the MDX that we put it over here. So for example, in this view that I've selected, let me just expand this. And I'm driving this MDX in the rows based on subset. This is a very simple, a basic example of it. So I want this to change to what we have in MDX1 and then click on OK. So it will change to what we have in MDX1. So the rows will change. One of the major benefits to this is we don't always have to go in and change the cube views for selectors. You just have to back in change your MDX or subsets, and it will automatically change the view that users are seeing. Another example for MDX Power Dashboard, I would say, is by using a user preference cube. So a user preference cube is what it's like a cube that stores the preference for some of the dimension elements for users. Currently, I'm the admin over here, so I've kept this user preference MDX, and it is driven by whoever is the client, the current client. And then I can have my preferred location, current year, and comparison year. So the MDX or the reporting cube that I want to see. So what I've done is this is driven in the rows as well as in columns by my user preference selections. So if you see here, so I'm selecting the current year and the comparison year from the user preference cube. Similarly, I'm using my location. I'm taking the descendants of that location from my user preference cube. So what will happen is I just need to go in and simply change my user preference, and it will provide me the descendants of my selected location. Similarly, you can just change the year. Let's say I want the current year to be 2019. It is changed, and then 2017 here. Not so 2018, let's say. All right, so this changes the comparative year too. So as I discussed earlier, one of the major benefits is if you have a financial version, a budget version that everybody is currently using, all you have to do is change that budget version in the user preference cube, and all the views that are created using the MDX, which calls in those user preference cell, will change automatically. So you don't have to always go into your cube viewer and change the selections. So this is another great feature that I've experienced in Power, and I would definitely recommend everyone to try use it. A third point that I would like to discuss is a very simple recommendation that I will have for those, especially those who have not yet deployed modules or projects in PAW. So what we can have is we can deploy our module, and I would just recommend 3 steps to always have a check on. One is archiving your module. So, for example, I have created books for this. So, what I'll do is I'll create an archive folder, which will have all the versions that were stored previously in that particular folder. So, what will happen is, in case my current book is not working, I can always go into the archive version and then do a save as, and then select what is the version that I want to restore it to, and just restore it. So we can always go back to the version that we want to restore. So you don't have to worry about losing a version that was there previously. So this is one recommendation that I would definitely say: archiving your module. Second one is, it's a great feature of PAW that usually what we do is we have our dev testing done, then we move it to the testing environment, then we have a Q&A testing that is done, and then we finally move everything to production. So when we're moving your PAW books into the production, the deployment always happens in the personal folder. So the technical analyst can always test it first before sharing it and deploying it into the shared folder for public or the business users to use. So this is again a very great functionality because you can always test the book that you've created with the production data, and it helps in identifying the issues that are there before making the book public. So that's again another great feature. And thirdly is security assignments for deployed modules. So third thing that you have to always check is your books have the security assigned. So we can just simply go here, set permissions. You can either individually go in and give your security. So currently this is inheriting from the parent folder. I can just remove this and then either give it to particular users, whoever they are, or I can create some groups and add the users to those groups and give the security to those groups. So for a business user or someone who wants to create a book and share it with someone else who's already there in PAW or user, you can just set your permission here. And then simply check the permission to whoever is assigned with this. So again, setting the permissions is as simple as a click here. So I would just, to conclude, basically just say that, just share my screen. Yeah, again. From my experience, the moment you receive a task, all you have to do is go to my pre created books, manipulate the views according to the request, and do my analysis. I just wouldn't have to go to my architect or buffet, then connect, go to Cube, open the Cube views, and then arrange it as the request is. Basically, Planning Analytics Workspace, especially for some of the requests that are happening, for example, every month or which is frequently requested, if you have like a pre-created books there, it saves a lot of time and effort, not only for technical analysts but also for business users. And PAW improves overall experience of working with planning analytics. It is a great tool that I would definitely, if those who have not yet worked in PAW, to please do go and check it. And I hope this session is a great introduction to some of the frequently used functionalities such as synchronization or a customizable functionality, for example, MDX powered dashboards that you can use with the limit of its customization being your imagination with MDX, or recommendation on how to successfully deploy your first new project. So let's hope that this dynamically generating reports dashboards enable faster analysis of data, and you have a very easy user interface and customization capability. So let's hope that you're able to work with this with as ease of usage that I felt it has. So this is my presentation for Horizon 2022. I hope my knowledge sharing was helpful and insightful for you. So if there is any question, please do let me know.
Thanks, Monica. That was an insightful presentation. Let's take up the queries. We have a query from Nandini Shanmugam. How to archive the report versions?
So archiving is pretty simple. All you have to report version, as in you're talking about the PAW books that I told you recently.
Yes, Monica, that's correct. When there is a new report or updated report, you are moving from the development to the production. So the already existing power report will be there, right? So that is going to be a different version altogether. So how we can achieve archiving the existing report and deploying the new version of the report?
So all you have to do is create a new folder in your final folder that you have, like where you are. making it public, right? So just I've created a archive folder here. So all you have to do is go to your book, right? And then just do a save as, and then make sure you get into that archive folder, and then just give a date to this version. So let's say this is 2022 10 18, and I already have one at 18 that is here, if you can see. So I'm just putting it as version 2 and save. It will save it as another book here. So if you just maybe I'll just close this. So if you go to the archive, and I've filtered it with the last modified, so I have another book here. Let me just refresh. Yeah, see, the version 2 is already there. So it got archived. And your current book is here. So it's as simple as that. You just have to save it as into your archive folder. And if you want to restore it, again, it's as simple as just going back to the archive book, the one you want to restore, and then just save as, and then put it as the public book that users are using, and then just give it this name. So your name will be the one that people are using. So what you can note is the ID here will change back to the one that people are using in public. So if you just save it, just confirmation. So the ID will change here. The final ID will change back to the one that you have in as made it as public. So it's as simple as save as restoring. So that's one of the quality that PAW has.
Thanks, Monica. Hope Nandini is clear with this answer. Let us know if you have more queries. And as we are talking about archiving the report, so whenever we are deploying a report from an UAT to production, do we need to take care of the instance selection? For example, the UAT will have a different instance, but the production instance will be altogether different. Do we need to manually specify something? But in perspectives, we have to change the instance name to get the correct data in production. So how this feature is handled in PA?
So a very good question, Kalai. So what we can do simply is PAW is as simple as just selecting the current instance. So for example, I have my, let's say, asset. I'll just say go to deploy, and then
Yep.
deploy it into any folder. Let's say
Mhm.
Horizon 18, and then next, and then it will simply list down all the available data, I mean servers that we have, all the available databases in the server. So I can just select which is the production server that I want, and just say deploy. So what
Okay,
it will
so
do is it
the
will be
instance
deployed
will.
into the personal folder. So that's what I
Okay.
said earlier. So it will be deployed into your personal folder, and you can have a test, I mean, test it in the personal folder before deploying it
Right.
into your shared folder.
Okay, so we have a built-in algorithm in PA which takes care of this instance switching by itself during the deployment phase, right? Through
Yes,
lifecycle
yes,
management. Thank
yes.
you. And we have another question from Richard Wilson. Do you have any tips on synchronizing issues? I have one view that is not syncing with my selection options, whereas the other three views are. So the user has the one view which is not syncing, but all the other views are syncing. But the one view is he is not able to sync it. What could be the possible reason for this synchronizing issue?
One thing that you could check is in your properties. Let
Mhm.
me share my screen. So always make sure first, as a first check, let's say I'm taking this view, go to edit, and make sure that your synchronization is first of all switched on for that particular dimension, that whichever dimension that you want, you have selected. Make sure that, because at times, I'm just as a troubleshooting point, there are times that you might have selected your dimension. For example, I'm selecting a plan department, or let's say plan time. I might have selected that and just moved on, but that will not synchronize it. you have to make sure that your synchronized dimension is also on, like this synchronized dimension is also on. Until and unless you do that, your selections for whichever dimensions that you want to synchronize will not work. So this is like one point that you have to always remember to make sure that. And another thing is the dimensionality same? Like if you have the similar dimensions that you're trying to synchronize. So that is another thing. Then what is the synchronization scope? For example, here, um, let me go to the data tab, data flow. Here I have synchronized the whole book. But if I am going and changing my selection to sheet, that is the synchronization is only for sheet, what will happen is this selection that I'm making over here will only be pertaining to the sheet and not to the book. So what will happen is my dashboard will not be changed according to the selections because it is only pertaining to that particular sheet and not to the book. So I have to make sure that the selection, if you want that this tab and this tab has to be synchronized, the book has also been synchronized. So those are the few pointers that I can tell you to check while synchronization, for your synchronization to work. Hope that answered.
That was a great explanation, Richard. Hope Richard is clear with this one. You can type in if you have any doubts or queries on top of this. So, as we are talking about synchronization, so is it possible to synchronize between workbook, or it is limited to at the workbook level? Is it has any limitations as such, or we can pass the data from the other workbook to the new workbook and synchronize between the workbooks?
So we can pass the data. So, for
Mhm.
example, you are going, let's say, let me put it here, and then I am going in this tab. I'm navigating to another book. So I
Monica,
can
do you
pass.
like to share your screen?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes. All right. So let me get back here. For example, I'm going in passing it to another book. So what I can do is I can select the tab, the action button that I'm trying to pass onto another book. So if it is
Okay.
this book and I've already synchronized, let's go to another book. I can select a book, and at the same time, I have option to pass the context. So which
Okay.
help sending across the data, the common data that we have here. So this is again something that you can always try, work on it, and then analyze if that works for your data. So this is again another feature that we can do. Is there something else
Yeah.
you want to add on to this, Malai?
No, Monica, this looks good. And it is, has a cool feature. So we can have a dimension or element passed from the first workbook to the a child workbook. And if we have the child workbook synchronized across the workbook, so we will get that, the parent parameter passed through all the tabs in the workbook. That is a nice feature in PA. Thanks for that. And we have quickly ran the poll, and we got to know there are 64 percentage of people are using PA who joined in this presentation. Oh, it's suddenly decreasing to 59 statistics. I'm not sure why is that. Hope this presentation will be very useful, whoever using it. And whoever not using it, the PA makes your life easily to browse the data. Highly recommend to start using it. And I have one question on security, Monica. So, how we can maintain, for example, we can create the groups and we can have a security at the report level as well. So, how we can maintain both the things? For example, if we are giving right access to one of the report through groups, but at the report level, we are giving only read access. So, in that scenario, what kind of access the user will obtain?
So PAW access is for the PAW book, and the TM1 underlying TM1 security is what you have established in your architecture for that TM1. So the PAW security, you can, I'll share my screen here again. So as I said earlier, for a particular user, you can have many roles that you can assign, and these roles basically work for user to create books or edit books, or edit the widgets in the book. So when I talk about widgets, what I mean is these cube viewer, action buttons, all these are widgets. So the level of security for individual user can be assigned accordingly. They can edit or work on the book, and that book security is only for POP. And your underlying TM1 architecture security that you have for planning analytics will definitely work on the cube views that you select, the dimensions that you select. That is already there. So basically, PAW security is on top of what you have on your planning analytics server defined. So I hope that explains. So this is for planning analytics workspace security is for editing and then making changes onto the book that you have. And the other security that you define in planning analytics is for the write and read capability that you have in the cube viewer and dimensions.
Okay, Monica. So you mean that so whatever the security we are assigning in the planning analytics, that is applicable to the data in the cube. Whatever the security we are assigning to the whatever the security we are assigning in PA, that is applicable to workbook and reports.
Yes, that is on top of your TM underlying TM1 security.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's not affecting your underlying TM1 security at all.
Okay. Right, Monica. So we are also having groups which we can create in PA workbook, right?
Yes, so you can assign users to groups. You can create
Okay.
groups, assign
Mhm.
users to those groups, and then assign security to those groups. So doing that is very easy in PAW. So you just have to manage and give users to those groups.
Okay, so we have another question from the attendees. Can you synchronize two different dimensions which share same common elements? For example, I have two time dimension. One detailed goes to days, and one in which months are at the level 0, but has the same code as in the prior dimension. So they are having two different dimensions for time period. So one has a detailed, very granular data that goes to days, and other one is kind of high level with months. With two different names, can we do different names in the dimension as such? Can we able to synchronize?
So you can try to use MDX for this. This is where you can play around with MDX powered dashboards. As I say, you can if you have a bit of MDX knowledge, you can just play around with creating the cube view according to how you want, like one dimension dependent on the other dimension. Maybe like have a user preference selection cell from where you can utilize, or you can just utilize the same like one dimension, utilizing the name of that other dimension in the MDX, create a cube view with that, and then you can directly use that in PAW. I think there's no time to really explain that. Maybe I can give you a better explanation to you and then send it via email. But yeah, I mean, that's just one of the quicker way to explain. You can definitely use MDX for this, and I think that will be much more easier to work on.
Thanks, Monica. As we are running out of time, we are happy to take more queries and we will get it answered in the email. If you have any questions, please leave your questions in the Q&A section so we will get it answered. So there are many other interesting presentations are lined out. Please check out Dimension Modeling in RDBMS and Hosting TM1 Data for Data Warehouse and BI tools. And manage your TM1 like a pro with TM1 Pi. Hope you have a knowledge packed day. Thank you.
This was Make Your Analysis Easier with PAW at Horizon 2022. Hope you have a good day. Do good TM1. Thank you.